Consciousness is the final frontier of physics, as far as I'm concerned, because consciousness is to the neuron what light is to the eyeball. That the light entering the eyeball merely triggers receptors that propagate action potentials. And so when you think about all the physical phenomenon that contribute to our experience of existing, you will find that every single aspect of the genesis of our experience of reality itself comes to us through the sensory apparatus that the body represents. And we have a physical body. And this physical body is the bridge between a three-dimensional world and then the infinite world of consciousness, where we borrow consciousness, where consciousness leaves our body. Consciousness has some quantum entanglement with the neuron, as opposed to being caused by the neuron. It emerges in the human experience and the experience of lesser beings that have brains, for example. That science cannot explain a neuron stimulating itself. In the same way, an eyeball does not create the light. The neuron does not create the consciousness. The neuron is an interface between a three-dimensional world where we absorb information through the sensors, that your eyeball is a receptor for light, for photons, and the frequency activates very specialized neuronal receptors that propagate action potentials to your visual cortex in the formation of a three-dimensional universe where your brain has enough computing power to replicate and simulate an external world that you don't even recognize is only taking form as a neurological phenomenon within your experience. And you experience yourself as some small abandoned child within the universe that you are currently creating. Now, you're not responsible for the manifestation of a physical world. You're responsible for the manifestation of your experience of the physical world. And transformation addresses the beingness of the experience, where being is a continuum between the occurrence of reality and the necessitated beingness to address as a response and reaction to the occurrence of reality itself. That is why transformation has power to open up new corridors of consciousness, while psychology only has the ability to promote rumination and definition and describe patterns and differentiate and analyze in an ineffective pursuit that can be seen in our society today as we start to break down. So again, consciousness is also synonymous with God. That when these people, your Jesuses, were trying to convey an experience, they did not have the modern vocabulary. And so what would they describe that as? You see, anything that has power has to address actual, real physical phenomenon. Having metaphysical interpretations has no power. There would be no value in conveying messages that do not produce any form of enlightenment. And so consciousness is just not understood at all scientifically. That no scientist today can take a look at a neuron, and understanding the physiology of the neuron in the manner in which we do today is very extensive. But the neuron cannot self-stimulate. It does not have choice. They cannot collude together and decide to do something. They cannot form ideas. That you cannot create consciousness from neurons. It doesn't exist. You see, consciousness exists. You experience it. It's a real phenomenon. But you can't measure it. You can't locate it in 3 dimensions. It does not have physical form, mass. It is an experience that is in existence, that we have this experience of being and we can see it. We see this. And so when you're looking out at your world, where are you experiencing this party of viewing? Where's the theater? Where is this projected to? You see, you can dissect the brain and you can identify all of the different locations and what they contribute to the living of the organism, that you can understand it and map it. But what you cannot do is you cannot locate the consciousness within there. There is no focus of it. Where is the consciousness within the brain? Where is the experience? Where is this being experienced? Where is your view of life emerging? Where are you feeling these feelings? You don't see that. You can't. It's impossible because it doesn't exist in a three-dimensional reality. That consciousness is outside the boundaries of a three-dimensional universe. It just doesn't happen to have any properties through which we could measure it or even assert that it fits within the model of reality that we use within the fields of science, for example. And so when you take a look at light, there was a point where we did not even understand light, that we did not understand the physics of it. We did not understand the physics of temperature, which we use, pressure, which we use, all the receptors of taste and olfactory, so you can smell and taste, hear. And so the physical body is a tool, a machine for the propagation of life, for the experience to be experienced. It generates the entire universe the moment you open your eyes. It has enough cognitive power to account for everything just by scanning it. And then as you see people walking around, you fail to realize that those people are merely phantom representations of objects outside of yourself that you are disconnected from and only experiencing a connection to the external reality through your central nervous system. And it is such a perfect rendition that you actually think it exists independent of you. That your experience of the universe does not exist independent of you, it is you. You are the experience, and being allows your consciousness to reconcile the illusion of ego. It's as if a child sitting at a video game console attached to a supercomputer programmed an avatar, an abandoned child within the universe. And you see, while you're playing with this supercomputer, you're simply playing Super Mario Brothers trying to level up. You're not recognizing you're the computer, you're the console, you're the universe, you're the game. You're everything within your own experience, that everything that you see is an illusion, a neurological phenomenon that connects consciousness to this three-dimensional realm. And consciousness is going to be something independent of the neuron, something that stimulates the neurons, independent of their normal physiological phenomena, meaning a neuron is not just a loop, not when it has choice, not when it can summon from nothing creativity. Because you see, for those of us who have discovered the creative capacity of the expansive universe within our mind, it is nothing but another experiential overlay. It is a significant amount of cognitive power that forms an entirely segregated universe that does reality testing, that learns only through epiphany, that simulates reality at the speed of electrons in such a high rate of velocity that you wouldn't even be aware. And it forms knowledge automatically that you would then put words to. That when you hear about people reliving their entire past, well, of course, because we're not talking about reliving it in a physical universe. We're talking about the speed of electrons that work at the same speed as what you might find in electronics or like microchips, for example. So the brain is a gigantic computer. But you see, it is not responsible for consciousness, not any more than the ear is responsible for sound or the eyeball is responsible for for light.